Hello and welcome to this free webinar, The 5 Reasons Not to Quote Unquote Win Against the Narcissist. Hi, I'm author, coach, survivor, Grace Rolson. I have several books, including my newest one, Wisdom for Ending the Co-Parenting War and the Custody Battle with a Narcissist. So if you're a mom required to co-parent with a narcissist or in a custody battle with a narcissistic ex, know that you're not alone. Sweet, loving, caring, protective moms who want to try to spare or save their children often find themselves in the family court system trying to protect the kids or try to get their rights to see their kids through the courts. And it can be financially devastating, emotionally exhausting. It can be heartbreaking. Many moms have been in this situation. I'm one of them. I'm a survivor. I'm going to share my survivor wisdom. My last video talks about winner's backlash. If you don't know what that is, it's similar to what I call boundary backlash. If you set a boundary with an abusive person who doesn't respect boundaries, you'll see some backlash because, typically you'll see some backlash because of their control issues. So I encourage moms to pick up my books 1 through 6 to see how I went from losing to winning, and then to peace and goodwill with my ex, which is, considered a miracle. Many narcissists don't co-parent. You got to parallel parent, or they counter parent you or opposite parent you, but there is a third middle way, and that's what I teach. But just know it's not direct advice. I always say, check everything through your lawyer, make sure it's part of the overall strategy. You're not just doing things on your own that's jeopardizing your custody case. So these are just based on my thoughts and opinions. They're not rules of the court. It's not a therapeutic model that's been, scientifically proven. This is just my survivor wisdom shared. And so take what's helpful and leave the rest. I do say, if you're ready and willing to learn and do the self-work required to be the change you want to see, I'm here to teach, coach, and mentor. My background is loving and leaving an alcoholic, and I went on to fight in a family court battle for 12 years. I lost all my rights in 2020 and had to use a different lawyer to chip away at them to get them back, hold the narcissist accountable. But then I realized this war could go on forever, and I used what's called skillful means with some other high-level tools and skills, which required me to heal on the inside and come to terms and grips with reality. I say learn all you can, because knowledge is power. These are my books in order 1 through 4, and then I have 2 newer ones. If you're willing to learn the lesson, you can learn, heal, change, and outgrow the narcissist. My first is Co-Parenting with a Narcissist, 7 Self-Rules to Stay Sane. And my second is How to Fight a Narcissist in Family Court and Win. Now, right there's the win word, and that's what we're going to hone in on because I was losing. And that's what I was telling myself. And that was really bringing all my energy down, that I was losing to my abusive ex. My child was losing to her father. The win-lose game is very black and white, and it's a game that I now steer moms away from. So we don't want to think in terms of win and lose. We don't want to think in terms of beat, defeat, destroy, annihilate the narcissist. If we want to have peace and goodwill and possible cooperation, and to keep our child out of a war zone, if we're going to use skillful means, the win word, I use it only in one situation, when I say win-win to the narcissist. Like, hey, this is a win-win. What do you think? So I teach how to use skillful means when talking to the narcissist, how to neutralize, de-escalate, disarm, and that really does help. I teach moms how to stop being the target of blame, and I will start a new video course so that you can walk through my wisdom. But right now you can walk through it reading the books 1 through 6, and my 4th is How to Survive a Custody Battle with a Narcissist. This is one of my newer ones, Tame the Narcissist, 10 Keys for Better Co-Parenting to Create Peace and Protection using strategy and skillful means. It's on Amazon. You can support me as a self-published author. My newest is Wisdom for Ending the Co-Parenting War and a Custody Battle with a Narcissist so you can heal and be able to help your child, also on Amazon. So what happened in my case after losing in 2020 all my legal rights and 50% of the time after having supervised transfers at the Y due to my ex hostility at child exchanges. How did all that happen? Well, he outlawyered me. He used lies. He did all the narcissist tactics. And in one of my books, I have a list of all of the tactics. Because if you can label it, one of the keys I tell moms, if you can label it, it takes some of its power away to emotionally destabilize you. And you can start labeling and numbering the lies. That way, if a professional becomes involved, it's very easy for you to rattle off the list of lies and discredit him later. So you got to kind of sit on some of your documentation and use it, like your lawyer will say, at the right time. Lawyers don't usually reveal all the cards, especially lawyers who understand narcissists and the need for leverage. So, for our children's sake, for our sake, to have peace and serenity in our lives, thinking about ending the war or not being in a war and not thinking win and lose or losers and winners can be so helpful. So, narcissists, if you win against them or beat them, you'll find often they don't go away quietly. So, for example, I'm going to speak as much as I can from my experience and the moms I've seen, but yours might be totally different and be an outlier. So, if something resonates, that's great. Take what's helpful. But if it doesn't match at all what you're going through, just save it in the back of your mind for later that someone went through a situation similar and this is what their outcome was or what they had to watch out for. So, if I won in family court, say I won a round, which I did, there would be retaliation places. So if he couldn't beat me on the stage of family court, so abusers need a stage, and if he couldn't abuse me to my face because we had the transfers at the YMCA and he couldn't reach me, he would abuse me through text or pick calls, and I stopped picking up the phone and I stopped the text. So then it went to Family Wizard. So the psychological types of abuse and uh, you know, false statements and allegations would come at me through the Family Wizard. So if I won a round in family court, I noticed the narcissist would retaliate, would lash out verbally, would be critical of my mothering, and would start accusing me of things that probably he was doing. That's that narcissistic projection. So narcissists often don't go away quietly. So winning in family court doesn't mean that they may go away forever. They're sore losers. They don't like to lose. They're keeping and maintaining their false self. The other thing is narcissists will often hurt themselves to hurt a target of blame. So for a while, it was me against the narcissist, mother against father. And unfortunately, family court is set up that it's that way. And some lawyers just really encourage it. I'm going to get what I want for my client and fight the other person's lawyer. And so it pits the parties against each other, which isn't family friendly. It isn't good for the child to be in the middle of that. And so then you have winners and losers. And it can go back and forth. What the judge gives, the judge can take away. So I tell moms now to watch out for the word win. Now that I know the narcissist, and don't go into the winner loser black and white thinking ourselves, because that helps it go on. So I think in terms of neutralize, disarm, de-escalate, becoming very neutral, not thinking I'm going to beat the narcissist, win against the narcissist, because the narcissist has many other tactics for if they feel threatened, like they've lost control. So I teach the use of skillful means. So if you're finding yourself in winner's backlash, you won a round in family court, and now the narcissist is just being their nasty self to you through the co-parenting app, to the kids, at exchanges. That's not a surprise to me, because think about when we lose. We're not great. I mean, we may not lash out, directly. And, narcissists can do everything passive aggressively in a covert way, or it can be obvious. So if that's happening, obviously, you will want to be documenting this. So here are just some of my reasons. I've got six. There's five main ones, but it's for awareness purposes only, meaning these don't always happen with every narcissist or every situation. It's just to keep in mind, as my lawyer told me, like, and I'll give my example. You got to keep these in mind when you're dealing with somebody hostile, who's angry, who doesn't have good boundaries, who's out of control. And in my case, who has a lot of guns, who's obsessed with guns, who would come to pediatrician's office to talk about his guns when we were just at a well check. So, like, it was all very intimidating and scary for me as a mom. So that's why number one, there can be possible safety issues if you win against the narcissist. And I don't want to scare you, but just be aware and make sure you consider your safety at all times with who you're dealing with in what state. I don't always agree when moms back a narcissist into a corner. And the way I explain it is, we don't want to back a porcupine into a corner while we're naked. So when they're scared, they will shoot barbs, and we don't want to be in a vulnerable position, putting a fearful animal who wants to then self-protect their, false image. I don't agree with stripping the narcissists, or trying to strip the narcissists of all of their ego and defenses and everything, because a desperate person can be very dangerous. So I say moms work with a DV counselor, get those crisis support people, and understand that if we want to coexist in harmony, we want to have some happiness in our life now that we've left an abuser, we may not want to be trying to beat the abuser in a legal war. And there's ways to say things that don't sound like I'm going to beat you or I won against you. Those are all very intimidating and threatening to a narcissist. So, number two is the possible retaliation. And I'll have some examples that happened to me and other moms. And they can retaliate in so many ways. You think you won, but all you did was win full custody or win child support to face all the things that narcissists can do, which is stop paying child support completely and make you that's one of the things that happened to me. Just stop paying completely because he didn't like the outcome of court. He didn't pay for 3 months. And do I really want to file a contempt on someone who I was just in court with, just spent all that legal money and psychological the toll it took on me psychologically and emotionally, because I'm, not a fighter. So family court isn't fun for me. It's like it's a very intimidating place. Well, it used to be. I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't, trained in family court. So I was out of my element, out of my comfort zone. And family court just felt like just another way for me to be dealing with an abusive ex. And it wasn't fun. Let's just say that. So, they cannot pay child support because they didn't like the outcome of their visitation schedule. So there's things to think about, the possible retaliation. Number three, possible hatred. So TOB means target of blame. And I teach moms to stop being the narcissist target of blame. We don't want to go up against the narcissist. We don't want it to be me against him kind of situation. Like, the narcissist would, in my situation, punch below the belt. I wasn't willing to go to terrible levels of creating lies, and I wasn't pathologically paranoid like he was. And so this isn't a personality disordered person. It really isn't the type of person you're going to have a reasonable conversation with. They are full of triggers, full of their pathological jealousy and paranoia, and highly competitive. That's, it's important to know what you're dealing with, and that's not who you want to have as an enemy. And the enemy in their mind that they create about us, we don't want to be adding to that idea that we are their enemy in their mind. So if a narcissist created that, you'll find all the different types of narcissistic post separation abuse. I called it co parenting abuse. I didn't know what was going on at the time. Why was my ex all of a sudden more abusive now that I left him? It was called post separation abuse. And he did all kinds of tactics. I have a whole list of things that I had to endure that I overcame and now have completely stopped with my skillful means third middle way that I created. And back then it was like either fight and win in family core or leave my kid. Those were the only two options I could see, but there is a middle way. And I prayed, please God. It was like, okay, we have to coexist in order for me to stay in my child's life. And I'll tell you my story and example. So just think about if you are constantly nagging the narcissist or filing contempt against the narcissist, and it's you driven versus a lawyer is petitioning for these certain rights for the child. It's just such a different angle to take to get us out of that TOB position. And it may take a while, year, 2, 3 years. It took me a whole year, and then it took another whole year for it to solidify that I'm not his enemy to destroy, that I'm just a co-parent and willing to be helpful and give give a little, and I did have to take some unfairness, and it will always be unfair dealing with an unfair person, and I came to accept that. Number 4 is there's no goodwill and no peace when you win against the narcissist because they don't have peace. They're never happy, bottomless pit of, need everybody's energy and it's never enough. Um, it's possible that if you win against a narcissist, you'll never get the goodwill and cooperation and the cooperative co-parent you need. Some people say narcissists will never be cooperative. Well, in my case, I thought that too. My case was one of the ones that go all the way to a 5-day trial. Most people negotiate right before a trial. They don't want to do the money or the time. I had to go all the way through a trial. So, in my case, I thought it was hopeless. He never negotiated, not a single four-way would he budge on anything. And I figured out it's because I was the TOB, the enemy. Why would a narcissist negotiate with someone they hate? Like I did not think in the terms that I think now. So, just think that if you are dead set on winning, there may be no peace in that narcissist because they want fairness, just like we would want fairness. They want what they perceive as fairness to them, which is usually taking more than the other person so that they can calm their fears down and feel like they're in control. Um, so keep this in mind. And number 5 is the possible fallout for the child. Like if the child's already dealing with a narcissistic parent and narcissistic abuse, and we win against them, and that narcissist has unsupervised parenting time, who knows what kind of hell the children go through because we ticked off their father. We have to keep that in mind. And yes, I noticed that was happening when I went up against and called him out on some bad parenting. Our child would get the domino effect, the fallout of an angry, ticked off, annoyed dad. And I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want her to suffer more because he was seeing me and the child, or he was just in a bad mood and then got his unsupervised parenting time. I had to think all the things I went through all the way through. And I did that with my mentors and my coaches and my DV counselor and my lawyer, because I wanted to use wisdom and not just emotionally react to all of this emotional, upsetting stuff. And that held me back from creating more of a mess than it already was. Number 6, this is your bonus, is the never-ending family court. If you win against a narcissist, they can come back and appeal. That's, some mom just posted, I won on one of my groups, and then posted a week later, oh, he's appealing, and now she's in more stress that if the appeal gets flipped, more stress. Now, if he doesn't win that appeal, can you imagine what he may do if he can't feel like he can get his rights, or things are not fair to him, or he's being exposed, or he's losing? Can you imagine the things they might do in retaliation if they can't get to the family court stage and play out all their nonsense? So here's some of the things I went through and some of the things moms went through, like the IRS reports, false reports of tax fraud so that you get audited after doing taxes. Or I've seen where narcissists will claim the child even though they know it's not their year, and cause both taxes to be kicked back and subject to investigation. The amount of games they can play when they're angry, I mean, is never ending. They can call CPS and file false concerns and reports, and then you've got all those on record next time you go to court that you had 3 calls and open investigations, and that can really go against your court case and raise a lot of red flags on us as moms. I've had those. Employment, they can mess with your employment by speaking to your boss, your supervisor. It's incredible the lengths they'll go to mess with another person. I don't know, that some of the things that I had was my driver's side tire was, shot out with a nail gun, and the impression of the nail gun was on my tire, and my ex builds homes. My headlight kept going out, and I'm not sure how he was doing that, and I was parked on the main road. There are things that happened that were not cool. Let's just say that, and very suspicious. I mean, a lot of moms get stalked and constantly harassed. Like, I got 8 family wizard messages a day of false allegations and incriminating remarks pointing at me, like a lot of mother blaming, and all because I won a round in family court. And it didn't feel like winning. It just felt like, okay, the child's safe with me and now I'm under attack. So think about this. If this can be helpful for you to stop the win lose in your mind first. Is the change has to begin with us. Another thing I've seen is they let the mom have the house, they file bankruptcy, they put the house on there, they lose their house, or they let them live in an apartment with their name still on it, and then they take their name off, and the mother doesn't have a credit score, so they lose. I don't know. It's all kinds of messing with where the person lives. Another one is family, friends, and relationships. I've seen them turn best friends against them, mothers, fathers, family against the mother. Have these narcissists try to have these heart to heart, covert bad mouthing sessions where they create minions, flying monkeys. They use triangulation. I mean, they really thrive. Narcissists thrive in the drama, trauma, and chaos they can kick up and they create, and then nobody can see clearly with all of the fog of confusion, and everyone's suspicious of others. And usually when they're telling a lie, it's a half truth, it's twisted. And so part of it's true, which even we fell under the narcissists, if we were with them and we end up having children with them, fell under the game of how they play wordsmithing. And another one, which is awful, is parental alienation tactics, or child coerced rejection of the safe, loving parent. That's what I call it now. They can say lies against to the children about the mom to have the kids turn against the mom. So if the narcissist doesn't win in family court, this can be what you face, unfortunately and sadly, and it can be horrific. So you spend all this money, thousands of dollars, you go through all these years of stress in family court to win full custody, sole legal custody, only to have all this other awful stuff happen. I've seen, you've seen the news, moms go missing, bad things happen to moms, and that's why I say safety first, and then my story and my example is because there were so many CPS claims on both sides, my lawyer said the judge threatened, and I wasn't there. So I tell moms be there for everything, even administrative stuff, to know what's happening in your court case. Don't just rely on the lawyer. They sometimes mix up cases. They've got so many, and details. They've got so many. So my story was my lawyer at the time. This is my second lawyer. I've had 3 so far. Hopefully that's the last. Now that we have peace and we negotiated. He said that the judge threatened to put our child in foster care if he couldn't figure out who the healthy parent was. And so in our strategy, we didn't attack my ex so harshly in our 5-day trial. We played a defense. I wish we played more of an offense, but his strategy was not to play such a strong offense that the kid would be placed in foster care. And to me, that was a no. I didn't want that. I had been in foster care when I was a child for a little bit, and it was very traumatic. And so I was willing to just step back and let go. Um, but now, if I could go back and change everything, I would not have gone through such a horrible battle. I would have used skillful means all the way and avoided the family court war and the battles. Our child went without for a couple years because I was so trying to win against the narcissist, win my rights back, win things for her. And that was the wrong focus. So if you have peace and your child is happy, healthy, safe, and protected, that's a win. If there's like a lot of injustice and unfairness to you as a mom, we have to let a lot of that go. And there's ways to cope with the inevitable unfairness. I have a whole video on like 10 ways to cope with unfairness when you're dealing with a narcissist. And it's important to know the narcissist to be able to use skillful means. You'll find that in my blogs and my guides and articles and books, how to use skillful means, how I did. I'm not promising it will work for you in your situation. Skillful means is something you have to adopt. You have to really be mentally ready and very supported. So I say pick up my books and start there. Start adopting this mindset. It may be helpful, and it's important to know the narcissist, what they're like, but don't spend all your time there obsessing about who he is and what he is. Just know the typical things. You can check for this video on YouTube. Know them, put them in the back of your mind, and then when you strategize, that's what you need to know about what's in it for them, kind of thing. Welcome to my work. If you're new to me, you can come to my website, gracewolson.com, find my blogs. I do co-parent with a narcissist now. We do have peace. Our child gets everything that she wants and then some. So she's not going without. She's got her same therapist for 10 years. She's, straight A student, excelling back at her school system. Everything came back. She's got her phone back. So all the terrible hostage situation that happened when I won, and then all the awful stuff that happened when he won, that's all over because we stopped this win-lose thing. Now it's just a win-win. He's not paying legal fees. He can, pretty much, I'm very agreeable, flexible, negotiating, not holding him to certain things that I know would really upset him because I, use skillful means now. So come and find these blogs, these guides. I have a free Substack newsletter. I say you can learn, heal, and outgrow the narcissist, come out of this stronger and smarter than before. You can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, get more of these free videos, and just keep being a great mom. I say come to my Spotify and listen. So it takes a while for you to, by osmosis, absorb what I'm saying. And this is a gentler way, an easier way, a more long-term strategy. It gives you your life back. It gives your child the chance to have a happy, healthy childhood that's free of added narcissistic abuse. So, if we can prevent some narcissistic abuse as moms, we definitely want to do that. And we want to be child focused, where the narcissist is just what's in it for them. There's got to be at least one healthy parent in that child's life. So be that healthy mom. And thank you so much for watching. If any of what I said in this video was so helpful and resonated with you, send me a private message on Facebook and tell me the one thing you're taking away from this video. I would love to hear from some of you to see if the message that I'm saying is landing with you. And please support me as a self-published author and pick up some of my books. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Thanks, listeners.